Hey, 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 it's me. Soulful Revelations by Erica. Erica Brown, I'm your sister, I'm your friend, I'm your auntie. I'm here tonight with Miss Shanae Jackson and Miss Sharice Denise McBride Young. We have them here
Wow.
tonight. I said her whole government name, didn't I?
Somebody
The
gonna steal my identity.
the government name. I'm sorry, I miss Shanae whole government name. Shanae Linnell Jackson. That's her, that's her.
Wow.
So we
Say
are
your whole
here.
name.
My name, Erica LaShawn Brown. That's it. That's it. But we're here tonight. We have a topic for you all that was really actually brought to me in prayer. I was praying and God brought me this topic and he brought me these two young ladies. I felt like they would bring it so much justice and he did too. Tonight we're talking about scars. We're talking about the scars that we recovered from. We're talking about the scars that we're recovering from. And we're talking about the scars that have healed. Have healed. In discussion before we logged on live, we were looking at the pictures of our scars that we're getting ready to show you guys in just a few minutes. And we have stories behind all of these scars. And we saw where the scars are like fading. So we was like, wow, these scars are starting to heal. So that's kind of like life. Like your scars don't stay fresh all the time. They actually start to heal. Sharice, you wanted to add something to that?
Mm, not
No,
yet.
not yet, not yet. Linnell,
Not
should
yet.
I? You wanted to add something to that?
I guess the only puzzle piece they start to heal if you don't cover them up and you let them. So I think that's what it is.
Ah,
Because all the scars that have healed, they all the ones that's out in the open. So like the scars that I have, my forehead, they're on my arms, they're on my hands. So they're the scars that have healed the most that you almost can't see them.
wow,
Yeah.
that's a good way to put it. That's a good way to put it. Well, since you said that, we're gonna start by showing some scars. So this scar right here, who does that belong to?
Oh, we
Who's
answering me? That's mine.
that's Shanae. All right, Shanae, tell us about this scar right here.
I don't even know where this one came from. This one is probably. I'm gonna be real with y'all. Every star I got probably from a fight. I'm just gonna say that. I'm just gonna say that.
I'm done. I am done. I'm done with you. Okay. Listen, so you can't literally say where this scar right here came from, right?
I I don't want to misspeak, but I think I hit somebody in the mouth, and that was from their teeth.
Okay. Okay. So let's talk about it. Let's talk about it a little bit. So we'll talk about first of all how old you were when this probably happened.
Um, between the age of 22, 23, and about 26.
Okay, about 23 or 26. Okay. So let's unpack that. So what made you hit somebody in the mouth?
They probably was running their mouth. And what's so weird about me is a lot of people don't realize that because I talk a lot of trash, but I can fight for real. So, but people fail to realize is when they be talking trash and I be quiet, that's because I ain't got enough wind to do both. So I'm already thinking about what I'm gonna do. It's not funny, but literally, I be so when people be telling me, I be so calm. I be like, I don't think that. Oh, okay. Like I be calm. I be laughing.
I think that's a misconception for probably all of us because
Mm-hmm.
there is a misconception that Erica's such a sweet girl. Listen, don't test my gangster. That's all I say. It's been a minute, but I ain't forgot. Like,
Right.
listen, listen. I be thanking God for change, but I ain't forgot. Yeah, no,
Mhm.
not at all,
And there was
not
a
at
meme
all.
that said that I laugh like is I laugh before I crash out. That's the first thing.
Listen, when I go to laughing, or if I start to shed a tear, if I shed a tear, yeah, everybody move. Everybody move. That's all I can say. Everybody move.
Right.
So that was one scar Shanae just shared with her getting in the fight. And to be truthfully honest, I think we've all had those. We've all had those scars where we've had to fight someone. Um, and it doesn't at this age when you look at it now, it's more so like, why did I do that? Like, why did I allow myself to get that angry, to get in a space where I'm actually fighting someone, and to be truthfully honest, scarring up myself to fight them.
Right.
Yeah, scarring myself. Anybody want to add anything else to that?
I think for me, I realized I'm actually passive aggressive. So I've actually never actually started a fight. And I
Okay.
actually let you take me so far
Hmm.
before we get into a fight. So even though I come across aggressive, I'm actually not. I'm actually very, very passive aggressive.
Yeah.
So realizing that I'm antagonistic. My daddy's always say, "You so antagonistic." I'm like, "No, I'm not," because I be like, whatever.
Yeah.
Realizing that my passive aggressiveness also in my antagonism also can contribute to it
Yeah.
as well. So in that manner, and when you're dealing
Okay.
with people who don't necessarily have high emotional intelligence, you being
Hmm.
very antagonistic or passive aggressive can help escalate things.
Yeah. Yeah. I can honestly say that just as well. Um, I of course I think we grew up in that, learning how to be antagonistic. We know how, I can tell anyone, if anybody can push your buttons, I can. So I know how to push buttons to a certain degree, but I think I have matured a lot to be able to know how to pull back too, because I
Mhm.
know that this tongue is real slick, and when it start talking, it's gonna tear down some feelings, and it's gonna tear down, and
Mhm.
I don't want to tear down anymore. So I have learned to kind of pull back off the sarcasm and pull back off the being antagonistic, and understanding, okay, they don't know who I am, and I don't want to teach them today.
Right. I mean, I feel like sometimes it shows up. It may not. It sometimes it shows up in different ways in your life too. I
Mhm.
say that because I think that when my children go to start school, the first thing I always want them to I always tell them, listen, if you right, I got your back. If you wrong, I'm not gonna uphold. And I'm because of the fight, like Shanae said, I never started fights. Um, but I didn't back down from none. I always used to say, well, ain't one, two things gonna happen. Either they gonna win, or I'm gonna win. So I feel like, and I didn't want, and because I was bullied, I didn't want my children to bully anybody. So, and I still do this when I go to the school and I see whoever the dean is or principal is. I let them know my children are little, and you let these kids' mamas know, if my kids come up here to this office, somebody going to jail, because they're not gonna put their hands on my children, and that's coming from um, always feeling like I had to protect me, and I want my children to, you know. one day I had to tell my daughter, because my husband, he like, you know what I told you to do, you know what I told you to do, and I said, babe, you can't tell them that, because then they're gonna think that sometimes when you got to know your children. Some kids you can't say, somebody hit you, you hit them back, because then that gives them the ammunition to think that they could just go out there putting their hands on people's kids. But I had to tell my daughter one day, I didn't say let nobody beat you down. What I said is don't start any foolishness, So
Mhm.
um, don't go around starting fights, and don't be the aggressor.
Yes.
Because I don't want my children to feel like they have to tear people down in order to feel like they're better than anybody else. So I feel like for me as an adult, that's how it shows up for me.
Okay.
I feel like it shows up in a way of on guard for my children. I don't want nobody putting their hands on my kids. I don't want nobody bullying my kids. And I definitely don't tolerate them being the aggressor. So,
Gotcha. Gotcha. All right. Good. 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 All right. We have another scar. We're gonna show. Oh, go ahead. Somebody's gonna say
I'm
something.
so, no, I dropped my phone.
Oh,
Oh,
okay.
I guess I will jump in and say my approach. I think too, she's highlighting a good point. When we have particular childhood scars, they show up in our parenting.
Yeah,
Basically, who we are as adults shows
yeah,
it, all of it, every
Yeah.
aspect of it, from how
Yeah.
you deal in relationships to how you parent to how you deal at work. Is whatever it is from childhood, that's how it's showing up.
Yeah.
So if you got childhood wounds, heal those are those scars you got to heal.
Yeah.
yeah,
So for me, I was a child definitely who did not feel protected. So I always wanted to make sure my kids felt that way. I
Mhm.
yeah,
I also when they say what is it? To me, words actually hurt worse than somebody beating you down. So I was always very deliberate with my children, also too, about what you say and how you talk to people, because that was
right,
one of the things that I actually hated.
Yeah.
So and that's the deal. So even people say, well, oh, they said such and such, but they didn't put their hands on them. But that still is just as egregious.
yeah.
So I
It's
was
one
very
and the
deliberate.
same.
I'm
Yeah.
not, but I'm not mama. I ain't politically correct. I will push your child down and be waiting on your parents. So I was very clear that parents, police, you better address yourselves accordingly. But I won't start there. So we be very diplomatic. We get the benefit of the doubt. Sometimes people have bad days. We go advocate. I teach my kids. You go talk to the principal and you do those
Right,
things. Because if I have to come, I don't mind. I'm still to this day not scared to go to jail. So that's how my scar shows up. My kids were never aggressors. They were never bullies and different things like that. And and two, they're emotion coaches, so they're very good at those being those types of people for other people.
yeah.
All right.
Mm.
All
That don't
right.
make it right, but okay.
Listen. Hey, I just want to correct Sharice for a moment because she said she's never started a fight. I beg to differ. I've
Well,
been around you and you have started a few.
but
Okay,
listen,
I digress. I
no,
digress.
yeah, because I didn't start the fight, but I didn't back down from it either. I
No,
wasn't going. I'm gonna say this. I didn't put my hands on nobody first. How about
okay,
that?
okay. Yeah, okay. We did. All
I might have
right.
I might have talked about somebody's mama, but I ain't put my hands on them first.
All right. We have another scar right here. Then who wants to claim this scar?
That's mine.
That's yours. All right, Sharice, what is this scar from?
Uh, your old house mailbox.
Oh, what happened at the mailbox?
We were playing kickball
Hmm.
in the road, and your mailbox was first base, and I ran past the base, and it scraped all my skin off my arm. So I still have that. And when I go to get blood drawn, the funny thing is that scar gets me questioned about drug use. And I
Oh,
say, no, I've never done drugs. That is a childhood scar.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think I remember that day. This is bad because we got some of the scars that we were like all together with when we were kids. So we have some
Mhm.
of the same scars that we were either together in some form or way. But I do remember that scar, and I remember after I'm not sure who patched your arm up. We couldn't have been
Your
no more.
daddy.
My dad patched your arm up as well.
No, I tell you about your mama.
Okay.
That was the only patch I ever received from her, honey. She done broke me down so many times, but that's the only time she ever put me back together.
God, I am
So
proud.
your mama, but your dad was so mad about it that he went outside, got a hammer, and beat the mailbox, the little flaps that it came from, beat them down to the side because it hurt me.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he was angry beating that down.
Yeah.
And that's one of those scars that it happened, but sometimes God show us the love from other people through those scars. Like sometimes
Hmm.
we don't understand, like we feel like every single scar that we get is from pain and it's not a healing, but God placed my mom and my dad in position, one to patch the arm up, one to get the mailbox straight, but they were working simultaneously. And it's one of those things that sometimes we miss that. Like we
Yeah.
miss the scars that people help us along the way. They may have hurt, but it taught us so many different lessons. It taught like there are parents in the neighborhood that still care. It taught us that, okay, yeah, your child can be hurt, but they're still protected by the people in the neighborhood that love them. So those are the type of scars that help shape us in who we are. And like she said, every time she goes to get blood, she's reminded of that scar every single
Yeah.
time. That so basically she has to replay that incident in her head every single time because she has to explain it every single time when she goes to give blood. And I just want
Right.
to let you all know, if you all are not sharing on your pages, please feel free to share on your pages. Go ahead, Shanae. You wanted to add something to that? Nothing. You wanted to add something, Sharice, to that one?
No, not to that one.
Okay. All right. So I'm gonna share another scar. Goodness, I guess I'll have to share my own scars, right? Eventually, I'm gonna share my own scars. Um, let's see.
Let me get on my soapbox while she talking about eventually. And she sitting there and said eventually she gonna show her old scars. Let me tell everybody that's listening in about this keepsake gift that she gave the whole family for Christmas.
What I gave the
She
whole family for Christmas?
she got these calendars made for the entire family for Christmas. So our family that's really, really close ain't that big. So like her mama and my grandma is sisters. So like all of us are nine extensions. And so for every month, it's different pictures of the family. And so it's like me, her, because of Keisha, everybody. I need the world to know in this calendar, she got some of the ugliest pictures of us. You
That's
know
all I
them
have.
pictures, you look back and be like, why did anybody snap them pictures and keep them pictures? Out of the 12 months and all the pictures, not one of her pictures was ugly. Not
I
one
won't
of
take no
them.
more pictures.
Every other family member got pictures in that calendar they want to burn. And when she just said, I'm going to show my scars eventually, I just got triggered by that calendar.
Listen, but see now, listen now. When I saw the, but see, that's because that's what you was looking for. You was looking for the imperfection because when I saw the calendar, I thought that that was a nice gesture of Erica to do that, and I wasn't even really paying attention of what nobody looked like. I just love the calendar. It was a great
We
gesture,
loved
Erica.
it.
Don't let Shanae tear you down, child, because you
No,
know.
and I was not alone. We
Listen, I
loved
hear this
it.
story constantly from her and Keisha all the time.
Yes.
My niece Keisha, so they always talking about how their pictures was ugly in the calendar and all my pictures were cute
We
in the
loved
calendar. And I'm like,
it.
I mean,
We told her
that's
we loved it. It was the most amazing gift ever. But yes, she did us like that.
I don't get offended easily. Yeah, most people should know I of all people don't get offended really easy at all. At all. Not at all. All right, I'm gonna show my scar now since your name is talking crap. Oh, listen, I lost the picture. See, you got me all flustered around here. You done made me lose the darn picture. Let me find it again. Let me find it again. All right.
Ooh.
All right, so y'all pardon my ashy hands. They said they didn't want to talk, they didn't care about my hands being ashy. However, if you see these two scars right here that I'm circling, can y'all see my shared screen?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that's one scar right there, and that's another scar right there. So just to share a story behind that one. That is scars that someone inflicted on me. Someone who I was dating, and we were having a heated discussion, and I was trying to ignore him by continually to wash my car, right? So I was drying my car off, and I was trying to ignore him because I didn't really want to hear what he had to say. And I recall saying to him, and bid you all, I was about 21 when that scar happened. So maybe 20, 21 years old about that time. So I'm washing my car, and he gets so mad because I'm ignoring him. And he grabs the rag out of my hand. And when he grabs the rag out of my hand, his nails cut my hand because he had long nails. And I say that because probably like the day before, I remember looking him in his eyes, and I said, I can't stand you, like that. And I said it with so much passion, right? And then I realized how passionate I said it. And it's because emotionally I was going through a lot with this person. And I realized how passionate I said it. And he was like, you really don't like me. And I didn't. And it was one of those things that sometimes we learn, we hold on to certain relationships for whatever stupid reasons that it may be. But in that moment, I could not stand the ground that that man walked on. And I did not know why I was still in the relationship. And I said, I got to get out of this. I can no longer continue to put myself in this situation when I can't even stand the ground that the man walks on. Now, bid you, I'm young, but I still understood my feelings. And I was never, I didn't grow up in a environment that my feelings had to be discounted. So therefore, I don't let people discount my feelings. I'm not that person. Like the minute I feel like that my feelings are no longer valid, the minute I'm trying to figure out I'm going the other direction, because I validate people's feelings and I need people to validate mine. But that scar is a constant reminder. And when I see this person, there's no hate or anything. We were young, but it's one of those things, but it's a constant reminder to me to always never to allow anyone to invalidate my feelings. And if I'm feeling something and someone is basically not trying to justify or even understand what I'm feeling in a relationship, it's time to move on.
Right.
If you don't hear my cries for understanding, if you don't hear my cries for all that explaining over, not at this age. At this age, all that explaining over and over and over again by trying to teach someone who I am. No, my mother raised us for us to be very vocal, for us to be able to explain what's going on inside of us. So I know I'm very clear on what I need. And if that is invalidated by the man who I am with, it's time to go. Because it's time out for trying to make people understand who you are over and over and over and over again. All right. Anybody else wanted to add anything to that? Y'all quiet.
I'm thinking.
Oh.
Listen, because I already know who the person is. So, I'm like, oh, yeah. Listen, I was having that. Oh, now I remember.
I think we both reflected back and remember the incident. So we're like, oh, yeah.
Yeah. I think that
I think too. Oh, go ahead.
that is significant because a lot of people will see a scar and remain in toxicity just for the sake of saying, I got somebody, right? And growth comes in that when you know who you are
Yes.
and what you are willing to tolerate.
Yes.
Because people lose themselves in relationship and a lot of times people go years in life without learning what they like and how they should see themselves in the next 2 to 5 years. No, from now, so they stay into those toxic relationships because they lack the ability to understand self-worth.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't identify self-worth as what you bring to the table because a lot of times people put that over in their minds that somebody has to bring something that they want them to bring. Like I'll say oh, you a good woman if you know how to cook or if you keep a clean house and all that kind of stuff. Like what else you got? Right? But a sense of validation, you have to know what you're willing to accept for yourself and what you're willing to tolerate. Because just imagine like people being so stuck. It's like a dog chasing his own tail, like you just going round and round and around in a circle. And then you don't let 10, 15 years of your life being with somebody just to say me and somebody still together. Right. So.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know me. I miss a bus, I catch another one.
You and Shanae both. Yes.
I'm on the right bus right now, though. I'm on the right bus. I finally caught the right bus, child.
Time is short. Time is short.
Right.
So one time is literally the most valuable currency you could ever give up because it's the one thing you can never get back. You could lose all the money in the world, housing, everything, get all of that back. And I think a lot of times we don't realize that. Also, your emotional and your heart space. Even when you in like a relationship and different things, even if you're the person that had to end it, there's still emotional damage. And so a lot of times people don't realize like that part of it. There's still a part of that relationship that you take with you. Yes. Even if it's you do things better, you do things different, you do things more cautious, it jades how you view the other person. Like people really don't own that. So like I see people take issue because we get on different buses. I see people take pride in being in toxic relationships for long amounts of time and not realizing, yes, a relationship, I always call them partnerships. What is when I say return on investment, I don't exactly what she's saying. I don't mean that. What's the value of the relationship? Yeah. And I think maybe because I worked in healthcare early, you literally should have a partner that you are willing to wipe their butt. If you are with somebody that you're not willing to wipe their tail, and there come a time where there is no sex, where there comes a time where they may not be able to make money, and you willing to sleep in a car together, or you're willing to make these sacrifices, that ain't your person.
And I don't know about that sleeping in the car thing.
No, it's the willingness. Because the point I'm making is if you're with somebody, because you don't know what's going to happen in life. And I'll give an example. We just had 2 hurricanes back to back. There are people sleeping in their cars right now because down there hotels are full. And then even when we're giving hurricane support, there is nothing left. So certain shelters take them for family. So my deal is the only option they have right now, while it's a temporary option, is to sleep in a car together. If you with somebody you already don't like, or you're only with them because of that blanket of security, not because you generally want to be with them, you done wasted. You're doing so much damage to yourself and to them. And so being very, very, and then the frustrating part about that is we're raised to look, engage each other off about what they can. So women fall in love with men for the performance. Oh, he got money. Oh, he's good in bed. Men have to be, so, and so that a lot of times that's why men are often emotionally mature. We want to be upset with them about being emotionally mature, but who demanded emotional maturity? Nobody. And so you got moms that call it my baby, my baby, my baby. And then you got women that justify them not being emotionally mature. You understand what I'm saying? Or it's just a man being a man, or is this or is that. And so there's a level that
accountability, the lack of accountability, yeah.
Or we ignore it because he is a good provider and he is good in bed. And so is those things. So a lot of times we could be in a relationship that is damaging us, and we're having to heal from a relationship that we're in. And so
I always tell these young girls, listen, every time you break up with somebody or your relationship ends, learn something about you. Learn something about you.
I think the biggest misconception that I see in so many people, I think we're maturing past that, but it's so many women that hadn't matured past the fact that they can't see what they did in the situation. Like, what did you do? It's always because most of the time men, you know, their stuff is kind of out in the open. Somebody cheated, or somebody withholding money, or they withholding sex. It's kind of some of the basic stuff when it comes, or they're physically or emotionally abusive. Like, it's some of the basic things with men. But as a woman, where do you see your fault in anything? And now I'm not saying blame yourself. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying, take accountability for your actions, even if your action was nothing. Because sometimes doing nothing is a problem.
Yeah.
Or take, I don't necessarily say accountability because that has a negative connotation. So if somebody got an issue with that, hold yourself capable. So there was a scenario where Erica happened to be at my house the other week, and we ended up in an impromptu conversation because me and my partner going backwards and forth. And I get hyped. Listen, listen. I get hyped. And mind you, we are sweet as pie, different things like that, but I match energy. And so she was like, wait a minute, hold on. So even in the conversation, I'm very clear about the woman that I am. I know who I am. I know I'm very confident about what I bring to the table. And one of the things that she said that I had to be mindful of is don't say those other women and make it very clear. I know I'm better than the other women, but not, I had to acknowledge, and I didn't take heed to that part of when I'm so clear about how much better I am than the other women, how that was actually demeaning to my partner. I didn't get that. I couldn't see that. And so what's interesting, that level of acknowledgement made my partner feel seen.
Yeah. So basically, I'm gonna try and explain that once again. So Shanae and her significant other was having a heated discussion while I was at her house, and me, because I'm such a listener, so I'm listening to the conversation, and as Shanae is speaking, she's stating, I ain't like them other, HOs that, you done dealt with. And I noticed that she said it by the third time. And I said, hey, listen, do you know when you tell him that? So this is for whoever the woman is that needs to hear this story. Whenever you tell your man that you're so much better than the other women that he has had, henceforth the reason why he chose you, what you're telling him is it diminishes him as a man to tell him every piece of person that he's had before him was nothing. So as a man, when you're choosing, you're saying to yourself, so I'm basically choosing nothing until I got to you. So we don't want to, in your relationship, you don't want to diminish no more than the same thing with men. for a man to tell you you was nothing till you got with me. Excuse me, boy, I'm a brown. Do you know why? So, it's one of those things that you don't allow someone to diminish your past,
Right.
because your past is your past, and sometimes we don't do it. We don't do it intentionally. It's just our
logically it's true. So logically, when you line it up, it's true.
I'm not saying
But,
that it's not. I'm saying as a culture, we have learned to do that in conversation. That's that antagonistic thing we were talking about earlier. We know how to antagonize people to turn things our way. And it's literally called planting seeds, but that's not what you want to plant in your relationship. You don't want to plant negative seeds. You want to be able to plant positive seeds. So you can, as a woman, I can talk about myself being great as a woman without diminishing any other woman that my man had. That's the key. Now, Shanae has a different reason, but we're not going to get into that.
No, we don't need to either.
We're not going to get into that. However, as women, the one thing about it is we don't put ourselves higher by making someone lower than us.
Yeah.
One thing about a person, their character will show. So I don't have to tell you how low they are. All I got to do is say, look what they're doing. That's low caliber stuff.
And I want to clarify too, in that manner, it wasn't that intent. So that's the part too hard to navigate. So that was the reason I could take ownership of it. So let me tell you my level of petty. So like with this particular person, like she texted him and said, I'm a garden gnome. Because that's the point. So you want to come for me. I'm so petty, so I'm gonna be a garden gnome for Halloween. Like you can't tell me that. Like but as I'm stating it,
what Sheila said, Erica, can we pray?
That one.
My reasoning for stating it is basically it was me advocating like for myself. Hey, I'm not going to be handled that way. Hey, we communicate over here. Hey, you're not going to you ain't going to bulldoze me. And so it was that way. So basically it was a more appropriate way for me to advocate for myself than that way.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I agree 1000%. All right. We got another scar here. I'm going to share it on the screen. And what we got?
But we know who forehead that is.
Mm-hmm.
Where did that scar come from? Tell us the story of that scar right there.
So that story was, matter of fact, it was a cousin of Keon's dad. We were actually playing, and he had really, really bare knuckles, and so he, you're moving too fast or whatever, and he accidentally hit me here, but it was at the angle that he hit me, and it's actually split my forehead. I was actually pregnant with Keon. So that's been more than 25 years ago.
Oh, wow. Oh, wow. So how did he feel when that happened?
Bad, horrible. And just it was one of those things that showed you can have the best intentions and it still can blow up.
Absolutely.
So for lack of a better word, sometimes people can cause scars unintentionally and still do the same level of damage.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
And getting people to realize that emotionally.
Could you elaborate on that right there? People, and to say that again, you said people can.
So people can, they cannot have bad intentions and still create and have the same level of damage. And so you can use parents. I'll start there, as an example. And so sometimes parents can be really, really strict on their kids. And in their minds, they think that they're protecting the children, but when they're really, really strict, they haven't explained anything to them. They just have, some moms can be really, really aggressive, with daughters. And in their minds, I protected my daughter because I don't want her to make this mistake, but it has the opposite impact because you're tearing your daughter down. Yes. And so it's the same as if a person who deliberately tore their daughter down in those types of ways. You can see it in parents. Sometimes they do damage. They got to work all the time. So because they got to work 3 jobs, they're not there emotionally or they're not available. Mm-hmm. It's not that they don't love their kids and don't want to be available. They're absent because they're trying to survive. But they still can do the same damage of a parent who's choosing to be absent. And so even in relationships, a lot of times men say, well, it wasn't my intent to hurt you. if they're out cheating because they got other things that's going on. While that might not have been your intent, you still got the same outcome. It's still the same result. So getting people too to understand you can still do the same damage, even if it's not intentional.
Yeah.
Yes, I agree.
On the parenting part about I can be strict with my children, but in the moment when I'm trying to teach the lesson, I also think about what I said. And so I go back to my children and have one-on-one conversations with them and say, let me explain to you why I said what I said. And to better help them understand that I'm not trying to be mean to you. I'm trying to be strict, but everywhere you go, there are going to be rules, and you have to follow rules wherever you go. And it starts here. And so a lot of times, I've been one of those mamas that had, it wasn't about so much, I won't say struggle. I'll say what I felt as I was trying to create a different life for my children than what I had. So when I felt like stuff wasn't adding up, okay, let me go get me another job. And then it was brought to my attention that, yeah, you might have was trying to give us this lifestyle, but your absence of not being there hurt me, right? So, and a lot of times we have so much pride in a culture that we won't accept that hard conversation when our children tell us things that hurt them. However, I can say that the one conversation that I'm going to always have with a young girl about her mama and her mama's intentions are the day that you learn how to receive your mama as a woman just like you, then you can receive from her. So that's my take on the whole. Yeah.
Amen. All right. We got another Scar we're sharing. All right.
Oh, that's me. I had to look at it. It is blurry.
It is a little blurry.
Yeah.
It is a little blurry. Tell us about this Scar, Sharice.
So one day me and Erica was walking home from school, and we caught the bus that was a little round the corner down the street from our neighborhood that we grew up in. And these young ladies were running, and me and Erica was like, what they running for? Laughing and kikiing. And then a conversation that a 9-year-old family member of mine, you know how you say, oh, I tell my cousin to beat you up type of thing. Sometimes, like Shanae said, those words do hurt. Well, anyway, so I was confronted saying, did you tell your cousin that I was going to beat you up? And I was like, girl, what you talking about? That's childish. And I kept walking. Me and Erica, we kept walking, and then I felt the push. And when I turned around and looked at my back, I seen that and Erica was like, oh my God, Red, you bleeding. So when I looked in front of me, the girl had a Coke bottle with my blood on it. And I wanted to fight. And Erica was like, no, Red, no, we got to go. So anyway, then that particular day, my mama locked the door, and Erica had to hold the towel up to my back while we waited for my mama to come take me to the hospital. So I received that scar that I had to get stitches for. So that's how it transpired. However, I want to talk about the long-term outcome of that scar. For many years, I hated the person that did that. And of course, us girls, especially pretty girls, and I do consider myself as a pretty girl, I always think that somebody is doing something to us because they're jealous. Now, I never found out the sincerity of what happened, and it very well could have been that. Um, and I remember when my mom and I went to court, and the judge was saying, well, why should I have to pay hospital bills for my daughter when I didn't do this to her? So the judge agreed, and restitution had to be made. And the bad part is, we were children, so the mama had to pay the restitution for the mistake of her daughter. And I remember, you know, throughout my life as a young adult, you know, seeing this person and rolling my eyes and having hatred towards that person because I have this scar on me for the rest of my life. She apologized to me, and when she apologized, it caught me off guard. I didn't expect for her to apologize, but what happened on the inside of me was forgiveness that I didn't understand. And I didn't ask her why she did it. I just received the forgiveness that she asked me for. And to this day, when we see each other in Gainesville, around the city, we speak to each other. Hey, how you doing? Now, we didn't become best friends because I got a best friend, but that was forgiveness, for not just for her, but it was for me, because she might have just been very sorry for what she did and had really no intentions on, creating that scar on me. And I feel like sometimes we walk around holding these grudges and holding hate, and forgiveness is for you and the person. So I hold no ill will towards her for what happened. And, so.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Yes, I was there when that particular incident happened, and Sharice and I spoke about this scar. We almost did not include it in here, and we almost didn't include it because of the forgiveness. And I was like, that's all the more reason why we needed to include it, because people need to understand, especially things that happen when you were young. Like, people got baby daddies from when they 20 that they still hate. Like, girl, we almost 50. Why you still hate your baby daddy?
Right.
Like at a certain age, you have to understand that. And I guess I can say that. Maybe I shouldn't say it so freely because I don't have a baby daddy. But these young ladies here have children's fathers that they had when they were really young. So it's a matter of being able to transition past certain things. Now, don't get me wrong. I have seen the hurt in some of the nieces and nephews that I had that their parents have inflicted on them for not being there. I've seen that. However, it's one of those things that a lot of things that occur when we were really young, sometimes give yourself some grace to forgive. Like, it helps you along to get that grace to be able to forgive that person and move on to the next step in life. Go ahead, Shanae.
I'm going to jump in and give an unpopular opinion. So I'm going to speak as a woman with 3 baby daddies, but I'm going to speak about forgiveness first and then transition into that.
Okay.
People who are unable to forgive are in their ego. And I want to state the reason for that is because often we are the victim because we don't take ownership of roles that we play. And when I'm speaking on this, I'm talking about interpersonal and romantic relationships. I'm not talking about a child with parents, because children often they don't have choices in those particular manners.
Yeah.
So I want to state that. But even as children, once we grow, So you can have the worst childhood in the world. Trust me, I got all the stories. Y'all already know. Me and my mom don't have no emotional connection. I'm a barrier, but there's just no emotional connection. But I had to get to that particular point. And what I realized is I could hold on to everything that happened in childhood and allow it to stop me from actually living and thriving, where I can understand and acknowledge that that's who she wasn't at that level. And I can allow who she was at that level and the things that happened to me because of who she was at that level to hold me back at who I am at this level. And I think a lot of times because we're so busy being the victim that we don't realize that we can't forgive because we want to be the victim instead of being a person who is, and more than a survivor, like we're overcomer. And that's an unpopular opinion. That's just what it is. I want to state being a person, I got 3 baby daddies that were not involved in these kids' lives. The one reason I'm the person, and that's the best thing. I have funerals in my head all the time by people, and they literally cease to exist. The reason that I don't have time to sit and
you said you have funerals in your head.
Yeah, they just cease to exist. There is no, what they call it, disassociation. There is no emotional anything.
Okay.
And the reason for that is I don't have time to be mad at my baby daddies. I chose them. I laid down with them. There were whether it was I was immature at the time, whether I might have been fooled at the time, and even too, I understand people present well. I get all of that. At the end of the day, there's still an ownership of that.
Yes.
I take on projects. So it could be sometimes when we don't heal and those particular things, there's still an ownership that we have to take. Additionally, a lot of times we hate baby daddies, but I gave them chance after chance after chance. That was a decision that we made. Again, we have to take ownership. It is imperative that we do that because when we don't, what you do is you pass that along to the kids. You look like your ugly A daddy. You did this, your trifling mama. No matter what, your child is still a part of that person. So when you're so busy hating them and pointing out all the things that you didn't like about that person, that means that's what you're telling your child you don't like about them. And you so busy being unforgiving and hating that person, you don't realize that you've passed those insecurities and that hatred down to your child inadvertently. And so now where your child should feel nurtured, they can't. Additionally, typically, if you despise that parent that much, they kind of earned it. So that means they're probably going to exhibit some behaviors that's also going to impact the child. So you can't even be equipped to help the child through those difficult times. I tell people this all the time. I got my daughter. Her daddy literally disowned her because, like, mind you, he's with somebody, I'm off with somebody. If I allow his behavior and treatment of her to dictate my life, where would any of us be? And the deal is this: the level you have to actually go an extra step in order to treat her the way that you do. And so getting people to know and understand that particular part. I know people say, well, they're going to get theirs and this. They may or they may not. We have to be better about that. And even too, when we want people to get theirs, that's ego. That is ego. We always call, so my way we talk is we call it your shadow self. When you take ownership sometimes of the dark side, you realize sometimes we make decisions so that we could be the martyr. And if we stop wanting to have martyrdom, we can actually take control of some situations where you don't have to necessarily need forgiveness because you will leave certain situations a lot earlier. And not only that, you will command that people treat you a certain way quite a lot earlier so that there is less damage that's done.
Amen. Miss Sharice, you got something to add to that?
It's a joke, but I'm not going to say it. Listen. Amen. Unless they are narcissists. You can't do nothing with them. You just gotta forgive and move on.
So that's my daughter as a textbook narcissist. You know how to get the flying monkeys around, that co-sign what they say. They volunteer lies. They always the victim. And exactly. So with narcissists, the way that you deal with them is cut it all off. You'll never win. And you have to be comfortable with whatever picture they paint about you. All right, bet.
I guess maybe that's my personality because I'm comfortable for whatever picture somebody paint with me. If I
Yeah.
tell you I ain't say it, if I tell you I ain't do it, and you say, well, such and such say you did, then have at it. That's my
Right.
personality. I
Right.
It just is what it is.
I don't mind being the villain. I don't ever mind being the villain in the story. I'm
What
living.
my
People say
mama
I
say,
clap back. Sometimes I clap first.
what my mama say, Erica.
However you
Well,
want to
how
feel.
I want to feel.
However you want to feel. All right. I have a last scar I'm going to share with our people tonight. And this is the biggest scar. This is the biggest scar of all. And we've all had this scar.
Mm.
And it's heart pain. Mentally, emotionally, physically, we've had this heart pain. I can say for me, I'm such a forgiving person. Like sometimes I'm so forgiving that sometimes it bothers me that I'm so forgiving. And I'm so forgiving because I don't like to walk around making someone the villain of my story. I just don't. I don't feel like it. Like I don't want to put the energy into it. Like it's not that serious to me. But it still doesn't negate heart pain when you go through different things and different experiences in life. And I think I've spoken on me losing my dad. That was something great for me in life. Um, it's hard for some people to understand because there are a lot of people who don't have their fathers there, but it's some people who do. And to say that I had my father till I was in my 40s, that's something big. And for me, I didn't grieve for my father until about a year after his death. But I was so grateful for the man that he was. He wasn't a rich man. He wasn't a man of many words, but he was rich in love. He was rich in family, love for family. He was rich in love for his neighbors and the children in the neighborhood. He was rich in those things. So that's way more than any money could ever give me. I'm pretty sure if I put a kid that dad was wealthy and he was on Wall Street and they put my dad in the same room, I promise you he would want my dad more so than he would want that other dad because he gave me so much more than money. But the missing piece in our family is gone. That's a piece of the heart that's no longer there. We make jokes all the time, and y'all know we have cookouts all the time. And every time we're having a cookout, we plug up stuff that my dad built, and we hook up things that my dad built. And my dad has been gone since 2017, and the things that he set in life for us, we're still using so many years later. And when I see my brother driving my dad's truck, and I was like, I hear my mom says, I know your daddy put that stuff somewhere. It was so amazing that my dad hid so much stuff from us. We had to search high and low to find it when he left. And
Right.
it's a blessing though when I see the fruits of his labor and the things that he did. As a matter of fact, I'm sitting in a room right now where a window was broken, and my dad fixed the window. And it wasn't a, Daddy, I need this window fixed. It was, hey, I'm over there right now. I'm fixing this window, da 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 da. And I say that for a reason. If you have a man in your life, this is not to compare my father to anyone who is a love interest of mine. But if you have a man in your life and you say, my window is broken, and he does not come to either fix it, try to figure out how to get it done, this, that, and the third, that man is not into you. He don't want you. And get it, learn it quick, and move on.
Mm-hmm.
Because a man who wants you, if you are down, if you are out, if you are in need, he is there.
Yep.
And if that man is not there for you like that, he don't want you, sis. Be okay with that because it's another man out there who does.
Mm-hmm.
It just might not be him. And that's the beauty for me of having a father, because my dad showed me what a man is supposed to be. Now,
Right.
there are a lot of women out there that didn't get shown, that they kind of had to learn it through trial and error, and they kind of had to learn it through getting good men in their life to show them, do you know this is how a man is supposed to treat you?
Right.
But when you get it, you get it. All right, y'all want to add something to that?
I'm going to co-sign that 100%. So I always tell people, I'm deal with man that handle my business. When I was younger, handle my business was where my queen's at. And very, very clear. As I got older, and evolved, that handle my business is emotionally, it is spiritually, it is mentally. You're not gonna have my nervous system in overdrive. Like those things, even those, like, you're gonna be dependable, just like she stated. So like with my partner, like in our house, what they call it, the honey-do list, acts of service definitely is a love language of mine. And so
Mm-hmm.
even with him, if I mention it in passing, like it's done. And not only is he very, very handy, just in the day and age of like YouTube and things like that, he'll look and get it done. He'll involve other people. Like in our house, we built a whole nother room in order to make space for his son to have his own space. They built a room and they did it. It's a temporary structure, like until our house is built, but like that kind of stuff. And so those things make it they help a relationship to be solid. So when you navigate in a relationship, be waking up on them days and like, do I need to throw this fish back in the sea? Because our relationships, they have issues. Those are the things that you stand on, like those solid foundational things. You got a lot of relationships are hard. And so you're in a hard relationship, and then there's not really a return on investment because there is no emotional investment, there is no mental investment. And wanting people to understand that part, one of the things that my partner takes pride in is his emotional investment, because he doesn't emotionally invest in people. And so that's a huge deal. So when you made that point exactly, that if a man doesn't take care of that, he's not that into you. You may have a man that spent all the dollars in the world on you because he got it. That doesn't mean that he's into you. And so helping people to understand like that part of it. Like, me, my dad died September of 2023. And we still have a conversation. He probably come up in a conversation every day because we talked every day. So, and he was the jack of all trades, whether it was cut my grass, change a light bulb, move my stuff. Like you can call my dad on the phone and say, "Hey, this happened." He can talk you through how to change brakes over the phone. Like that's just who he was. And even Erica ended up coming the day that he passed away. Like he was a G to the day he took his last breath. And so that's what was modeled. Like if there was a man's man when it came to being a father, he was that. My dad also, what was special about him is he was very clear that he was not a good husband. He was very clear if he had it to do all over again, he would have made very different decisions. He was very he was very adamant about pouring that wisdom like into my brothers and into us. Whereas a lot of people don't do that. A lot of people don't take ownership of the mistakes that they made. A lot of people don't say, "Hey, this is the way I did it. You should do it a different way. This could have been a different outcome." And he did that for years before he left. And so, getting people, it takes a really emotionally mature and responsible person to be that person, to acknowledge their shortcomings and then utilize the mistakes that they made for people to learn and grow deliberately.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And I do take my hat off to Shanae's father. That
Please
man,
turn the light back on.
he left here on this earth trying to make sure his kids was good as he was taking his last breaths. He was still trying to make sure his kids, his grown kids, was gonna be good when he leave this earth. So sometimes we don't see like the fight. I can say for myself, my dad held on for his family. It's like he was holding on for us, because real men, they do fight for their families. They really, really do. They go to bat for their families. Yes. Go ahead. You want to add something, Sharice?
I think that women have to find out. I remember when we first explored the whole thing about love language, and I was really caught up on it. Um, and in the moment of me learning what I thought was my love language, um, I grew up around a bunch of men that did a whole lot of stuff, handyman. And um, I remember saying to one of my aunts, I want a husband just like yours. And she said, baby, be careful what you ask for because he might do this, and this, and you see him do that, but I can't get him to do nothing around here. So I had to change my verbiage in saying, you know, sometimes women think that a man going out there cutting the grass is proving that he a man. I don't care if he go out there and cut it or gets paid somebody else to do it, as long as I said it and it got done for us, right? Um, and I was just, and like Shanae said about what you said about them being into you. One day, I looked up this TikTok video about a recipe, and I was looking at it on my phone. And my husband was like, "Babe, what you doing?" I said, "I'm looking up this recipe I want to try." And I came home, and he had bought me an Echo Show so I could look up the recipes on that. That may be small, but it was big for me because I didn't have to ask him for it. He felt like, let me get something for my wife so she don't have to look in her phone to get it so she can see it in front of her. She can do her thing. And I said, oh, so those little things, they mean a lot to me because he paid attention and I didn't have to say it. So that's seeing the need. Not really, that's not a real need, but for him to just see something that can enhance something for me, right? So I just feel like women have to pay attention to what they really like, and in every situation in their life, no matter whether it's trauma or it's pain, you have to find you in everything that you are into and surrounded by.
Absolutely.
Like,
Yeah. I think the hardest part of learning that we will go through heartbreak in this life. We will go through disappointments that cause heartache. We will go through matters of the heart. But
right,
that's just a part of living. You know, y'all, what they're saying, y'all say life be life, and that's just a part of
mm,
life.
right,
Like you're gonna go through those types of things, but hopefully along the way you're learning the different steps in order to make changes. There's nothing worse than I can see, and I'm speaking to the women. There's nothing worse that I see a woman who handled things the way she handled them at 20 and still trying to handle the same things at 50. Like, don't you have to elevate, sis. I don't care if you've been with him since he was 20, you've been talking to him like that since you was 20. You have to elevate some way, somehow. Now, don't get me wrong, men, you do too. But I'm speaking to the women right now. Sis, elevate. Whatever it is, you need to elevate. When I have conversations, I had a conversation with a young lady, and I was like, oh goodness. You should be knocking on retirement door soon. What you gonna do? And she said nothing. I was like, oh, I need to have another conversation with somebody else because you listen. I'm in a mindset that I don't want to sit here and do nothing.
right.
Nothing. Like, no, you
Mhm.
want to keep elevating. Like we're at a point in life that we can grow so much more. Like when I look at the mature 48-year-old Erica, I love this girl so much. Like, I'm so appreciative of my growth along the way. And guess what? It took heartache, it took headache, it took pain, it took all of those things to get me to this point. So if you're still trying to avoid heartache, don't do it. It's literally
Right,
for your growth. Like, it's
right,
literally for you to grow as a person. Quit trying to avoid it. go towards it so you can get it over with, so you can see the greatness on the other side. All right.
And so I feel like this. Everything that I have went through that has caused me trauma or pain was for somebody else. And
Yeah,
God, I always say God big enough to put us on this. If he wanted us here by ourselves, he could have did just that. It's always for us to go back and strengthen somebody else.
absolutely. Absolutely. And if we don't see it that way, we're missing it.
Yeah.
We're missing it already. We're missing it. If we don't see how it's to better someone else, we're missing it. If we don't see this pain is just for me today and somebody else tomorrow, you're missing it. You are
Right.
absolutely missing it. All right, Miss Shanae, you got some last words? I see your dinner then arrived.
No, I think the biggest thing is understanding that even with scars, it is, and even as they're growing healed, there's a story. I have a C-section scar. Actually, because I've had 2 C-sections. So while I have those scars, there's joy that came from them. I might want to throat punch one of them tomorrow, but I still love and adore my kids.
I cannot.
So, understanding that particular part. So even too, sometimes the scars you got, there comes pain, but there also simultaneously can be joy. So understanding that we have a level of resilience that is unmatched. And I think sometimes because we always feel like we're coming from behind, we always feel like we're in fight mode, that we forget to experience joy.
Yeah.
And like really realizing that part is so imperative, and being deliberate about that.
Yes, absolutely. I think I have a myomectomy scar, which is same thing as a C-section scar. And I had it cut in the same place twice. And for me, I just remember everything in the last surgery. I remember everything that I was going through emotionally during that time. I was going through a divorce. I was going through my dad being sick. I was in school full time. I was working part time. Like emotionally, I felt like I was going through so much. But I was so grateful for the time that God gave me just to sit in the hospital and think. And sometimes we don't understand in the midst of all of the things that we go through. Sometimes he just gives us a time to rest, even through those hard times, even through when we don't have all of the answers, even through when he's saying, guess what? I'm going to give you the answers, just not right now. So just chill. Just chill. You're gonna get through this. Just chill. And it's one of the things that my dad used to say, Erica, just calm down. It's gonna work itself out. And it always does. And I literally live by that. Calm down, Erica. It's gonna work itself out.
And you know what's so funny? Because my dad is hood. And so his thing used to always be God always provides. I don't know why, I don't know how, but God always provides. That was always his thing.
He does. All right, we are definitely over our time right now, but this was really good. I appreciate each and every one of you all, those who watched in, those who came in or came out. I pray that you got exactly what you needed when you logged in. I want to thank Sharice and I want to thank Shanae for being on our podcast tonight. Soulful Revelations by Erica, your auntie. We will see you next month. I don't know the day just yet because it will be my birthday. The last Friday of November is my birthday. I'll be turning 49 years young, 45. So I'll see you all. I don't know when next month, but we'll see you soon. Thank you guys for tuning in. God bless.